You know, according to the Madiba, you remember him, the late Nelson Mandela, quote, if you talk to a man in a language he understands, that goes to his head. If you talk to him in his language, that goes to his heart, end quote. But from me, teaching a child in his mother tongue reinforces his identity. Now, the federal government has agreed that henceforth, the language of instruction at the primary school level shall be in the mother tongue. Minister of Education Malam Adamu made the disclosure after the Federal Executive Council meeting in Aso Rock, Abuja. While government concedes that the implementation would be difficult, mother tongue would be used for the first 6 years of a child's education. Then the English language will be a combined subject at the junior secondary school. Now, are we proud of our mother tongue? Jide, that's how to start.
A good number of us are not. Some of us are just guilty of colonial mentality. We think that the way to help our children to speak good English that will then help them to pass their examinations, especially those of them in the arts and the humanities, is to bring them up properly to speak excellent English.
Yeah.
But the mistake we are making is to assume that a child can actually have a grasp of excellent English when you speak English exclusively to him. I think it's a very stupid way to reason.
Because I understand the graph you are painting. But you see, at school, the instruction is in English. At home, this is where the child needs the mother tongue. But many parents across watching us and listening to us are guilty of it.
That is where I'm going. You know, I'm saying that we think that the best way to get it, because your question was, are we proud
of our language?
And I said, look, a good number of us are not proud of our mother tongue. If you are proud of your mother tongue, you'll be happy to bequeath it to your own offspring.
That's it.
Teaching your children to speak English exclusively in your home, I don't think it makes sense. Some of us made that mistake, and when I look back now, I just ask myself, what was I thinking?
Idea?
What was I thinking? Because now that they are little grown up, we are constrained to speak English to them, just like my grandmother. My grandmother, she's dead now, but back then, whenever she came to Lagos to stay with my uncle, of course, he could not speak English, so he would rather speak
her tongue.
Not even our own dialect.
Okay.
You know, a variant of the Yoruba language was what she would speak to those children. And those children, if she spoke to them 1,000,000 times, they would understand what the woman was saying. So the point that I'm trying to make is children need to be taught their mother tongue by the parents. Yeah. We can't leave it to the teachers alone, because if you had been teaching your own children to speak your language, then it becomes easier for teachers who have to enforce this policy now, using the mother tongue as the medium of instruction in schools. So the mistake that some of us made, I would not want others to make, because what do you achieve at the end of the day? The first special report in my time here at TVC, the first special report that I got one of my staff to do was on the fear of extinction of our language, and the English, the Igbo language as well as the Yoruba language were the two languages that we surveyed. And I remember the first visuals that I saw. This boy would not speak a word of the Igbo language, yes. But immediately, the interviewer switched to English. The guy just became extremely excited. He now began to talk like a chatterbox. You know, so you cannot blame that child, because that was, even some parents who struggle to speak good English, you still see them, is that same English. Is that smattering English that they are trying
pushing down the throat of the child.
Yes, they are force feeding the child.
And many of them do it outside just to impress you, but not knowing they are depressing you.
Yeah, there are times I've maybe met with people out there, and I communicated because I understand Yoruba, I understand Igbo. I spoke in language, and somebody was replying me in English, and I said, "Do I look like I can't speak English?" I deliberately spoke in this language so that we could converse. What's this?
What's your point?
What is this? So now, it's unfortunate that the number of our languages are gradually disappearing.
Oh, yeah.
I think there was even a report one time that one Nigerian language had disappeared. Maybe somewhere in Edo State. Nigerian languages are disappearing. And the interesting thing is that in some countries, like the United States, like China, they're actually studying some Nigerian languages.
They even come here to learn more.
They come here on exchange programs to learn more. So, I spent part of my growing up years in Lagos. I didn't really pick Yoruba language then. Even Igbo was along the way. By the time I got to the university, I smoothed in my Igbo to a large extent. But when I found out I would, have to work in Lagos, on the streets, that, of course, I'll be a journalist, on the streets.
Became streetwise.
You know what I just told myself? I said, oh boy, you have to go and learn Yoruba language. Because you wouldn't be going out, to mix with the folks, and you will need an interpreter to tell you. Then you now come back to the newsroom to start writing what you are not really sure of. So I did that as an existential, tool. But what I'm saying is that beyond just putting the burden on the primary schools, look at the issue of, when you are required, one of the 6, I think, compulsory credits you're required to have in WAEC and NECO is English. How about projecting that, okay, you add the Nigerian language to it? Yes, it's studied, Nigerian languages, some Nigerian languages are studied as subjects. But how about you add that, okay, you should have a credit in a Nigerian language?
Especially for those
to drive it home.
The arts.
Even because with this, China, and a number of these other countries, India, they've been able to develop their language in such a way that they can explain a lot of things in their own languages, in Mandarin and others. We should be looking forward to, maybe in the next 50, 100 years.
Let me tell you a little
of
story.
us being able to do that.
A little story, Jide, this might be interesting to you. When I was on radio, one of my colleagues sent the son to do the IT here. And as soon as this is your son is coming, the boy came, and I spoke my language. They hit him for, how are you? He said, sorry, sir, I don't. I said, then you are not this man's son. Go and bring your father. The father came the next day. I said, this is not your son. Why did you tell me? But the guy can't speak a word of the... He said, but that's my problem. And that's the problem, as you said, with many parents across the length and breadth of the country.
Yes. So we brought this on our children who can... You even to pronounce words. When you are... I'm a music coordinator in church. I write songs for my church. And I like to teach them Yoruba songs. When Yoruba songs are a little difficult for me to teach in the choir because they must pronounce those words the right way. But a child not brought up to speak the Yoruba language,
Yeah, we'll find it difficult.
you do what you call fojo pojo. You understand my lingo? A fi ojo pe ojo.
Okay.
Yes.
OJO.
Ojo. A fi ojo pe ojo.
Ojo.
It will pronounce
That's it.
rain. Yes. That is ojo.
For the name Ojo.
As ojo. Because one, they are not familiar with those words. Then they are not familiar with the right pronunciation of Yoruba words. And when you pronounce it wrongly, it gives a different meaning. So we can spend hours on that one, trying to make sure that across the board that they get it right. It can be really frustrating. Sometimes I feel like spanking them. But, you know, again, you cannot blame these people. I wish that what we are just starting today, you know, what government, this new policy had been instituted a long time ago, we will have saved our language, because at the rate we are going, if we are not careful, these languages will die incrementally, because some words look to be really extinct. There are some words now that I can ask some Yoruba, so-called Yoruba boys, to say, what's the meaning of this word? They won't know, because it does not feature in their day-to-day communication, even in the language.
Wow.
You know, so there's a lot that needs to be done. I'm happy that government said, okay, the way it is now, the dominant language in the community where that school is located will be the language
of that community.
Yes. Lagos already instituted that some time ago.
It did.
The Lagos State House of Assembly
dedicates
Thursday to using Yoruba.
Deliberations.
To their plenary, they do everything in Yoruba. I mean, so the Speaker, Obasa, must be really proud where he is now, because the sort of thing that they started, you can see that is growing. Because they also came up with the law that Yoruba must be taught in Lagos schools.
Yeah.
You see, so a good turn deserves another.
Every language or dialect has its nuances. So allowing the language or the dialect to be the mainstay of instruction in that environment does the environment a lot of good.
Yes, and as a Christian, I can say that it's great to even praise God in our languages more than it's better than in English.
BKO and Emeka, let me indulge you a little. Ibibi song. Please don't go to court.
I wish I understood. Because if you were abusing us now, we won't.
No. Before you get the interpretation, I would have been gone.